Hello, everyone. Welcome to Business Central 21 release wave 2 webinar, What's New? Before starting, let me introduce myself. I'm Senior Dynamics NAV expert with over 9 years of experience. I grow from a developer to lead developer and to current role Business Central team lead over those years. And I have participated in many roles in 400 plus upgrade projects. I have extensive knowledge of standard Microsoft upgrade procedures and versions low to 3.7 to newest releases. Questions and answers can be asked all in the Q&A section, all the workshops. So please, if you have a question, ask it while you don't forget it. I will try to answer it during the workshop. And we have another section, handouts. You can download our few handouts which we prepared. Topics to go. So firstly, I will go through from our first insights, what we saw. Firstly, opening newest Business Central release. Then I will go through preprocessor directives and feature management, what is new in the Business Central 19. Then still remaining obsolete pending functionality from other versions, and in current version, new obsolete pending functionality is separated. It will be also introduced. What was removed in this newest release, again comparing older releases and forecasting. So please stay until the end if you want to know how the future looks from the numbers we have, and I will present all of them. So the first insights, opening Business Central 19, I saw these boxes in some pages, and I looked at the code and saw about title and about text properties. These properties were introduced in Business Central 18 version, and now there is more than 1,500 upgraded usage results in the Business Central 19 version. So Microsoft is using these a lot, and it might use even more. So please consider maybe using also in your custom applications, so as they are very helpful, as you see, and beautiful. Another new functionality from the code perspective is error behavior attribute above methods, above procedures. So it specifies the behavior of errors inside the method scope. So if you have few errors in one method, you can add this error behavior to collect all error messages and show them in one error message. And maybe the future could look like that during posting, Microsoft would collect all the error issues which there are. So to increase posting dates at your user setup, maybe a dimension to GL account, and those all issues will be presented in one error message. Then we counted changed objects, and we saw a bit more folders in the newest release. And I started counting my few parameters like enum and option fields, what has been increased. So looking at the changed objects, Microsoft keeps changing a lot of objects with each release, but mostly in this release, changes are related to obsolete pending objects, processor symbols, removed obsolete functionality, functions, and new feature implementations, which I showed you a bit before. So again, I will talk why there is a big increase, because you will see in the future slides numbers. And also 8 newly added folders. I really glad Microsoft is keep doing this, grouping objects to folders, and hopefully one day we would see all objects in folders, not scattered like currently we have. Then Microsoft decreased a lot of option fields in this release. It's around decreased around 500 fields and only 1,200 places are left. And at this rate, Microsoft could remove all option fields in 1.5 year period in Business Central version 22. Maybe this is the target Microsoft is aiming to. And I would be really glad if Microsoft would do this at this period. And of course, as enums were created, options decreased. So 85 new enum objects were introduced in this release, and the total count to 372. After the first looks, then let's go to the Preprocessor Directives in AL and feature management. If you haven't attended my previous webinar and don't know what is Preprocessor Directives is, so this is the best practices to deprecate code in the base application, which Microsoft is using more and more. And you see, code can be marked with these preprocessor statements, if, else, and if. And it adds a preprocessor symbol, clean 15, clean 16, 17, 18, 19, which represents the Business Central version number. And you can add in the app.json of base application this symbol. And you can add in the code these statements and symbols to hide it, that compiler will not see it. So first example is in the below left. If not clean 16, then procedure will be hidden. So if you want to add the processor symbol in the app.json, clean 17 would be same as false. So statement, if not false, is true, then function is visible. If preprocessor symbol would be added, like I showed a bit above here, so clean 17 would become true. If not true, becomes false, and this procedure would be hidden from the compiler, and all related item tracked quantity procedure usage places would become errors because compiler won't see anymore this function. Microsoft does a bit more with these symbols. It even shows the future. For example, clean 18 symbols were used because customer template code was marked as pending. But we see that this will be removed in the Business Central 21 release, or if you would enable the symbol. So it's very clear how Microsoft now marks the code. And please keep in mind when you customize something, do not use the code in these preprocessor symbols patterns, and try to use more of the future code which will be released. And the results, so currently Microsoft created over 1,000 results with clean 19 symbols, and clean 15 and 16 become 0 because Microsoft removed that code. So maybe there is a question in your mind, if Microsoft is going to someday to enable these symbols in the app.json, my answer would be no, because Microsoft would remove the code instead of by default enabling the symbol. But this is the option for you if you want to use a solution as most future-proof as possible and enable it in the base application. This feature management also another page which also enables functions ahead of time. So Microsoft sometimes enables feature after minor updates, but the feature is not yet enabled to use because administrators can turn it on before automatically it is enabled in the next major release. Of course, I would not recommend to do this enablement in the production environment, maybe in the development or UAT section if you are planning to upgrade to the next release. And this is the BC17 introduced feature management list. It contained 7 rows, and 4 of them were already enabled in the Business Central 17 Cronus database. This is 18 Business Central version, which is quite similar view. And currently in the Business Central 19, we have a bit less issues because almost all of them were enabled. So I will show in the next slides the total graph, but from overview, if some issues, some features were enabled in Cronus, so please make sure enable in your solution as soon as possible, because if you want to try to test something in Cronus, you could get different results because of some features were automatically enabled there. Another reason is that you cannot revert this issue. So again, this may be needed to be tested thoroughly before moving to the production environment. And some features are not very strict here in this feature management page, because there are 2 examples. One, write longer item references, was moved half year into the future, and new sales pricing experience, which was marked that it will be obsoleted in the 22 quarter 2 release or wave 1. It was moved to the 23 wave 1 release. Also, Microsoft is revealing the big changes when you need to plan to redevelop some solution codes, and it again helps you to be prepared for future features which Microsoft releases. So this is the overview. All the features which were introduced in the Business Central 17 were enabled, so it's very good that Microsoft keeps its promises. Two things: that enhanced email capabilities and sales pricing experience was not yet enabled because it was moved to the future, but this enhanced email capabilities is enabled even in Cronus Business Central 18 version. So it will be released, I think, in the next release, truly. Then also in Cronus, there are 2 features enabled in Business Central 19. The decimal separator on numeric keypad. So this is the big issue in the previous releases, because if you have some different region settings than the web client server settings, the keypad could not match the region setting and you get a decimal separator, for example, issue. Now it is fixed, and this feature can be enabled in the Business Central 19 release now, and it will be automatically enabled after half a year. New timesheet experience, I saw some new pages were enabled, but it's still 1 year to have this feature automatically enabled in all the versions. And so I think the biggest change is the new sales pricing experience, but it's not enabled and even passed further away. Now the poll. Maybe, yeah, I want to ask you, how are you planning to adapt to these changes in the newest Business Central 19 release? First answer that you still don't use Business Central web version, maybe you are planning the upgrade. Then maybe you have a lot of changes. You don't have a lot of changes in the standard, so adaptation is very easy. Then maybe you do have changes, but you didn't encounter any, or you have a strategy how you fix them, or maybe you are looking to outsource to do extension maintenance, upgrades, not by you, and you will maintain your customers more, but leave the upgrade things to other companies. Yeah, and I see the current results, so they are very good because I see mostly 50% of users. You can see also results in the poll section that you have a strategy how to see and adapt and fix breaking changes, which is very good thinking. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, please answer it and I will move on. So now the topic will be still remaining obsolete pending functionality from all the older releases. Microsoft invoicing is still pending to be removed. In Business Central 18 was only a part removed, but maybe this is because 19 introduced 3 more pending places to the Microsoft invoicing. This is why it's not yet removed, and I don't think it will be removed in the next release. So we'll still see this 1 year period as 19 version has pending tag applied. Then system ID, again, this was touched in the Business Central 18 version. So it will be still pending until the next release, and hopefully next release it will be removed because now there is standard system fields which can be used instead of creating custom ones. And centralized template, again, it was touched in the Business Central 18, and you see even preprocessor symbols added here. So it shouldn't be removed yet. So it's very good. Again, Microsoft that it's keeping its promises and waiting 1 year to remove the features. So next release could be the end of this template. And price calculation, again, this is the biggest change introduced in the Business Central 16 version, and it is moved to the Business Central 22 version. Microsoft keeps enhancing it with each release, and you see there are a lot more and more pending places related to this functionality, and almost 200 pending places only because of this price calculation functionality. But still, yeah, you need to live with these places 1.5 years more for them to be removed. If you want to read about it, so there are 5 interfaces created, and it is a bit generalized. So yeah, there is a link which I will send you after also webinar, and you can read it about it. Then add attachment in the Business Central 17 hotfix was introduced as pending. So it's still pending currently. Then Business Central 18 also touched the buffer tables. They have new type temporary, which now new buffer tables can use. It's the same property as if it would be marked as the record, temporary as a variable. So this table wouldn't have a SQL table, and it will be temporary always. You don't need to use that near variable. Then all self-line subforms, which even in the classic are not yet removed, they are pending. But again, this is the reason because Business Central 18 touched something, so we need to wait one more release to be removed. Edit word layout. It is not possible. It's not working in the web client to edit Word or RDLC layouts. You need to export it, change it, and import it, but it's still pending because, again, new things were introduced as pending in the Business Central 18. Native objects will be removed. Again, Business Central 18 touched. File management removed in the Business Central 17 version. It's very good that Microsoft reviewed it, because if you not review it, you will always get errors in some file actions, like create temp file name client tip. So hopefully it will be removed very soon to avoid these error messages. Email accounts were moved to the system application, and it is still pending and not removed functionality. In the Business Central 18, many frequently used reports were marked as pending. We need to wait half a year at least more. And the same with the Intelligent Cloud Insights. Regex module again moved to system application, and there are many places which are pending. Legacy GL entry locking, and yeah, that's it from the older releases. And what is the new obsolete pending in the Business Central 19? So retention policy was introduced again in the previous version in BC 18, but now it is started to be used in the Business Central 19 code more and more. And there are some places like archive, sales order archive, or post on documents. If you want to delete them, there will be no button anymore, because you can add here any table you want and select retention period and which data old you need to keep, and delete all others. So you see, this is to delete archived versions in sales order archives is marked as pending with the preprocessor symbols also, so this will be not visible anymore. Then Outlook add-in is centralized, so all references to Outlook is being removed and marked as pending, because Microsoft introduced centralized deployment of Outlook add-in, and this should be used only in the newer versions. Then some old functionality which are introduced in the RTC platform capabilities. In the list, you could open a card, and in the card you could open the list. It's even from the classic client. These actions are leftovers, so they will be cleaned, and you need to, of course, use the lookup page ID and nothing in the card, because it's already opened from the list. And smart list are also being removed, marked as pending, but I tried to use it and it's already disabled. It can't be used, so maybe it is already removed, but only pending case which will be deleted. Then what was removed by Microsoft? The CRM table option fields, they were pending in the Business Central 18. Blob fields, all blob fields were replaced by media fields. Again, this was marked very old in the Business Central 15 version. Finally, in the Business Central 19, everything is removed and media fields only can be used to store pictures. And you see customer table picture. If you are using it, please keep in mind that it is removed and you need to use media field instead of blob. Then blob table is also removed because code units were introduced again in very old version Business Central 15. There was a big time window, 2 years, for you to redevelop then blob usage to the code unit. So now you can't use it anymore. But it's very simple change if you know this. Power BI fields were expanded in length. Again, this feature was introduced in the Business Central 16 version. It's not a big change. Then what's new notified again was marked as pending in WC 16 because it was a temporary solution. Now we won't see it anymore as it is removed. And this is a very unusual case. The table configuration field mapping was removed, but it was never marked as pending. Maybe in some, it could be in cumulative updates of Business Central 18, but in the R2M release, I didn't find that it was pending. So if you are extending this or using this table, of course, the implementation is very easy to use a different table, but please keep in mind that it was never pending and it was removed, and this could break, and you couldn't prepare about it. Then item reference is also, it is still pending in the Microsoft, but I moved it to the removed because Microsoft is not removed yet the code, because you see the code is planned to be removed at the Business Central 20 release. But after reviewing the code units, upgrade code units, there are created upgrade item cross-reference code unit. And during run upgrade per company function, it enables the new functionality to use item references in the inventory setup and all other places. And also it migrates data from cross-reference numbers to the item reference numbers. So it is automatically enabled functionality to be used, but the code is still pending. So developers, please be aware of this. If you're using cross-reference numbers, treat them as they are not used anymore and change them to the item reference numbers. And my forecast, which we see from the numbers, so total numbers of pending, still pending, and currently removed objects, you see it's increased, not that big, but functions, we removed 500 functions. And also, as you see, there is a big growth, almost more than twice in the preprocessor symbols, and 2,000 event publishers were introduced. So this release may not be very functional in use, but you see Microsoft did a lot of cleanup in the previous versions, and that's why only 2,000 objects were changed, but they did change because of these reasons: symbols, procedures, and publishers. This is the forecast, which I showed you half a year ago. So pending and removed objects, obsolete functions pending and obsolete state objects pending, they are almost the same, which I forecasted in numbers, but removed, I expected more Microsoft, that it would delete a bit more functionality from the code, but Microsoft I expected less procedures. You see about 250 to be removed, but Microsoft removed 500, twice more than I expected. So in a bit way, we were a bit precise how much pending new objects will be introduced, but we didn't, knew or forecasted that this number of procedures will be deleted. So looking at the future numbers, what we can see now from the current data, that only 166 objects are removed, but there are still 400 pending functionalities in BC17. So I would suspect that BC20 would have a bit more obsolete state removed objects than it was done usually by Microsoft, about 50 cases. So I expect a bit more, about 100. And functions, obsolete functions, as we know that Microsoft removes procedures 1 year after, but as I know, there are many procedures which are related to the pricing list functionality, about 200 in the BC 18 and 17, but still Microsoft only left 100 functions in BC 17 as pending, and all other 500 functions were removed. So I don't expect a big increase in the next version in the obsolete functions removal. And again, another thing why I expect that the code will be removed more than the procedures is because Business Central 17 still has a lot of obsolete state pending functionality, and it will be more than a year. Now there is a year, but it will be more than a year in the next release that they are marked as pending. So I expect them to be removed. So 20 release may have substantial changes related to a lot of changes introduced in this version 17. And how we can help. So before going to questions, how we can help, firstly, let's meet at Direction EMEA. I will also go there, and my colleague Andres will present a topic with a small number of customers and few breaking changes. Will extension maintenance be a problem? It's very related topic which I showed you currently, and yeah, please listen to us if you will be free at that time. Then we have extension maintenance service. So again, if you're looking for outsourcing, we can help you to test your solution with each major or minor release and release it. And if you are planning upgrade, we have upgrade analyzer tool. We could give you a fixed price quote in the 5 business days, the 5 different options, how we could upgrade it to on-premises or Business Central online versions. So that's it from my topics. Thank you all who are still here, and yeah, please download handouts, see my links in the chat which I sent, and you will get a recording from this session. And yeah, have a nice day then. Bye bye.